I was just talking to a buddy today, right? He's an associate. And he goes, guess what? It fucking happened again, right? I diagnosed a crown on tooth number 15, and they gave it to the owner. The owner hasn't been as busy. She wants to be busier. And now they're taking my treatment that I diagnosed and putting it on her. All right, so we're bringing back our most frequent guest just because I feel like whenever we're like, hey, we don't have a lot of views anymore. How do we get more views? Oh, let's just bring Spencer on. He always ends up getting us a ton of views on this podcast. So we go from 6 total views to 10 or 11. So it's pretty awesome. So anyways,
I love those double-digit numbers.
I know. Double-digit Spencer. That's what... So we figured we'd bring him on because we've kind of gone through, when we started talking with you last summer on all this kind of stuff, right? We've got how to produce more, how you can present treatment to patients better. Then we kind of went through the whole team approach of, how do you get a good back office? What do you do with your front office? How do you get them to all be in sync? And how do you run a profitable practice? And then when we were just talking too, you were like, the next thing we need to talk about is associates, because that's one thing that both of us have done, or all of us. We've all hired associates, right? And for us, we can kind of go into a little bit more of our story of how really, if there was one main driver that allowed us to get to a level at our two practices where we could go from, hey, these are just decent sized offices to big enough that you could sell it to a DSO, right? Or you had options. It was definitely having associates in who were bought in, who were productive, who were there long term, who built good patient relationships. I think that really helped the practices grow a lot. Alex is giving me a look.
No,
like
I'm not giving. No. Oh, no, I think you're forgetting I think the biggest thing is our mindset, and probably Spencer's too. It comes from the owner point of view, and not being choosy on stuff as far as well, that's mine and that's yours and all of that.
Yeah.
I think it's that hey, I'm here to help you grow so that we all can grow.
Yeah.
I think
I was just saying
one.
big picture. That's when we saw a big jump is when we brought in good associates. So we figured we could just have a conversation on kind of maybe what we've done, what Spencer's seen that's worked, maybe help people who were either, new grads who are looking to join an office, right? What to look for in maybe an owner in terms of their mindset, and for the owner, right? What to look for when you're ready to bring on an associate. So yeah, let's get into it, Spencer.
Yeah, I think everybody needs to ask the question, what's the purpose of having an associate? You don't bring one in just because you can. You don't bring one in just because it's the thing that people do. You've got to have a reason to. So what was your guys' reason? Why did you bring one in?
Well, mine originally was I was going to go on maternity leave. I needed to replace myself. So
okay.
that was a big one for me.
Yeah. Oh, mine was that I realized if we wanted to grow the businesses, I bitched and complained too much about wanting to learn to do molar endo or third molar extractions. And so I was I'm not going to expand my skill set. Okay, so there's definitely a deficit there. How is this practice going to grow and get to a point where we can serve more patients, where it can be more productive, all that, without me having to do all of that extra or super GP dentistry? And then it was okay, well, let's just grow our, let's spend more money in marketing. Let's grow our new patient count. Let's grow our patient base. And then let's bring an associate on who likes to do a lot of the things I don't like to do. That was my reasoning.
Yeah, and mine came out of necessity because I found myself owning 2 practices. It didn't start out wanting that way, but that's how it happened with a former partner. And then it was just me owning 2 practices. And so I thought, okay, with an associate in one, what if he quits? So I've got to find some redundancy here, and I've got to find another associate to replace me in this office. So with that necessity that I had in needing full redundancy, that's how I became reliant upon having associates. I mean, who do you know that is happy who owns 2 practices and working both of them? right? So
Oh,
I knew
yeah.
that
You've
could not
done
be my
that, Eric.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had to. That's when I like got super like I don't know, burned out such a
No, you're just. It was
buzzword.
overwhelming.
But it was just overwhelming
Yeah.
because it was right when it was COVID, right?
Yes,
Because
yeah.
we had an associate for a little bit before COVID, and it just just didn't work out, right? So when COVID hit, like the offices shut down, it was a good time just to like part ways, and we got to a point where Alex was working part time
Yeah.
at one of the offices. I was working part time at that office and then full time at the other office. So I was doing 5 days a week, 7 to 7 clinical for like 18 months. And that was a lot. And I'm already
Yeah,
someone
why
who
do so many of us do that? Why,
I don't
why do
know.
we? Why do
I
we
remember
put
like
ourselves in that
I
situation?
literally remember just driving to work every day and being like, "You're gonna get through this. You're gonna get through this, and it'll be worth it at the end." I mean, it was, but I remember having like a lot of internal monologues about like
It wasn't internal.
Yeah, it
you
wasn't
were also
internal.
very
It was
external
mainly-
about it.
It was internal for about 5 seconds, and then it usually switched to just external me yelling in the car, and then calling Alex to then yell. So that was like the progression of how I dealt with it.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a lot. I mean, that was
Yeah.
not enjoyable. I mean, it was really overwhelming. And then we had a newborn baby, so it's like you don't get to see your kid at all. It just became a lot. So like, I am really grateful, looking back on it, that we've been able to have a couple like just really long-term associates at the offices that have just done really well. Like they've made it to where I don't have to think a lot about like stuff because I know they can handle it.
So, do you know kind of what the standard tenure of an associate is at a practice?
Whew, I don't know. Let's guess. Is this just like general like US you're saying, like what you've seen in a stat?
Yeah, so I was watching our, the group that we're in, I was watching that quarterly meeting, and so they said in our DSO, it's about an 18 to 30 month average for
Oh, wow.
people to be in as an
wow.
associate. So, we've got to ask ourselves, like, are we okay with that? And
Yeah.
is that just kind of what we signed up for? There was one time when I was really panicking when my first associate was going to leave. And then I remember just sitting there by the river and having this feeling of, this is what you signed up for. This is just what it's going to happen. You're going to get a new associate. And as long as you're an owner wanting an associate, this is just part of life. And I thought, oh my gosh, that was just more peaceful for me to just realize, okay, it just is what it is. Now, fast forward, and I have these two associates who I want to make, as long as they want to not be an owner, I want this to be the only option that they would ever consider. So therefore, I really don't want them to consider anything else because this is such a great opportunity. And that puts pressure on me to continue to build that opportunity. So I've built my structure on a 3-legged stool. Now, this is for the right fit. This is for the right type of associate who's going to replicate us, not just replace us, but replicate us. That is super important that patients and team have a consistent experience with you as the owner and then who's working for you. Also, I want to make sure that we delineate that there are associates that take over a practice and associates that work with the owner. These are two totally different situations, and in my situation, they take over the practice. If somebody is working side by side with an owner, I think that there may be some things that we have to change about what I'm going to say here, because this is my main experience. Now, with that said, I do want to say that both of my associates who have graduated within the last 4 years are making well over $500,000 each, working 4 days a week and having no ownership responsibility at all. Okay, so is it okay if I go into my little 3-legged stool here?
No, start it.
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Okay. So first off is what I just said, is that they've got to make as much money as possible. They've got to think, why would I ever want to work anywhere else? Why would I ever, consider, anything different if I want to continue to be an associate? Now, can somebody make more money being an owner? Sure. But are they out earning a lot of owners in our area? Oh, you better believe it. Like, so many owners are making way less than my two associates. Now, second is that they shouldn't have any any management necessities, duties, right? And so therefore, I want to make sure that they have the nights, the weekends, um, the brain space, right? I want that all to be free. I don't want their wives to be thinking of me like, oh my gosh, Greer's calling you again. Why don't you just own your own thing if you're going to have to just keep talking about work every night? Or why is he interrupting our date night? Or, come be with the kids. Why are you talking to him about work? I don't want any of that stuff. Why do I say that? Is because I've been there, I've done that, and it took a toll on me, and so I saw firsthand. That sucks. Third is I need to have the best team around them. They've got to have the greatest team. They've got to have people who are well trained, not get frustrated by the assistant who doesn't know how to hand over a microbrush. They've got to have people who know how to talk about a treatment plan and to sell treatment. So those three things are on me to provide them the absolute best associateship. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah. So that's awesome. A lot of that stuff we kind of did, but didn't like maybe, at least for me, I didn't have it as like formal in my head, right? Like you had those like 3 pillars on there. But to speak on the first one, so the associate that we have at one of our offices that's been there for almost 5 years probably now, right? And it's just been him at the office. You know what he did his first year? Because the first year he came, he compared his pay to his friends, and he's like, I'm making more than all of my friends are. And he was like he was just out of a GPR. Mm-hmm. So it was this was his first job right out of residency. And I think he probably made $300,000 to $400,000 his first year. Right. And then, like I said, he compared it to everyone else, and he was like, I'm doing better than everyone else. So there was, he never really had that drive or that motivation to say, I'm going to go look for another job, because he knew the grass wasn't probably going to be greener, right? So that was good. And that, I think, happened because we made sure that, like you said, we brought in associates to run the practice, not to be like our sidekick or like our understudy, right? They were the ones that were running the offices. Now, we helped mentor them. Alex helped a lot with that. Mm-hmm. Help mentor them and get them where they needed to be. But we never fought over who gets this crown, who gets that one. I was just talking to a buddy today, right? He's an associate. And he goes, guess what? It fucking happened again, right? I diagnosed a crown on tooth number 15, and they gave it to the owner. The owner hasn't been as busy. She wants to be busier. And now they're taking my treatment that I diagnosed and putting it on her. And I'm like, dude, that shit's you shouldn't be dealing with that stuff. That to me is terrible, because what's he going to do now? He's going to go look to buy a practice, right? So I think for sure, making sure that they're, whatever phrase, fed, like have enough opportunities, they're making enough, right? You're paying them a fair amount, super important. I don't remember the second one. What was the second pillar? Oh, I remember team was third.
Just leaving them alone.
Yeah.
Leaving them alone outside of office
So that's
hours.
one that I probably have to, we never really bugged him outside of it. We were really good about saying like, weekend time should be weekend time. Like, I don't ever remember us like saying, I need you to come in, there's an emergency patient,
No.
they need to see you, like all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm probably more needy or pushy than Alex is, right? In terms of like, I'll just text him, it's fine. I think you're good about like boundaries and space.
Well, I just don't like talking to people in general.
Yeah,
so.
I gave her an opportunity not to have to talk to him.
But yeah, I agree. It's like you have to give them the space to not be like thinking about work all the time. I mean, and they shouldn't. They're an associate. That's my job.
I know.
I need to be thinking about work all the time.
I hate that when I was an associate, right? And you'd have owners talk to you, and they'd say things like, "Well, I need you to act like an owner here and do that." And it was like, that would always bother me, because it's like that, to me, that's just the owner being lazy and they don't want to take on the responsibility and say like, I want to delegate this to someone else without having to like compensate them for that. I really like that second part that you said, Spencer, that because it isn't their responsibility or role. It's your job to man up and be the owner and let them focus on having a good team around them, letting them do the dentistry they need to do and be able to focus on that and not have to deal with like HR crap, you know? If you like our podcast, check out Alex's newsletter, Just 2 Minutes. It's full of great advice, which makes sense considering it's her thoughts and not me sidetracking her every 2 seconds. You can subscribe at coupleofdentists.com. The link is in the show notes. Now, back to the pod.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad I have your approval.
Thanks.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were I could tell you were really nervous. You totally seem like the guy that really cares.
My hands are super sweaty right now.
Yeah.
I can relax now.
If I didn't answer that right in your head, you'd just been like, I don't give a shit. I know this works. It's fine. Eric's an idiot.
Yeah, I really enjoy my associates. I find them to just be really delightful people. I want them to win. And yesterday, I got to share this huge win with you guys. Yesterday, I had to go take a test. I had to go to a Prometric testing center. You remember those?
Oh,
taking
yeah.
your DAT in one of those, and yeah, tell me about it. That was a trip going back to that. So, and then I come home and my son, who's 12, he just got out of school and he just kind of looked bored. I said, let's go to the gym. So I just take him to the gym, and his eyes get huge when we're there, and he's just like, whoa, it's like a playground here. It's amazing. We worked out for like almost 2 hours. Went and got a burger afterwards. I was just like, let's get some protein in our muscles. And then I come home, and I'm like, I just gotta like get down and work on my computer. And my 16-year-old, he's there at the door, and he starts swinging his hand like he's playing ping pong. I'm just like, what are you doing? He's like, you want to play a game? And so I make this thing where I always tell my kids, if they say, you want to do something? And I always say, yes, right? Because isn't that what life's about?
Yeah.
So even though I was feeling super busy, I'm just like, sure. Finally, I was able to shower and get to my office space and just kind of remote in, see how my offices are doing. And I see they produced $50,000 between the two. And I go, wow, it's 3 o'clock. I had no idea what was going on in either of my offices. I accomplished all these things earlier today that are not work related, but then I come and I'm like, they just averaged $25K per associate today. And I thought, man, this is great. This is awesome because everybody is winning. It's a huge win all around. My teams are bonusing. My doctors are getting paid big. And my offices are taken care of for me. And so I really think that the proof is in the pudding of this little recipe that I just gave you guys. And it's really worked. And I want to see my associates just continue to win and just be satisfied. And I always check in with them just like, hey, how can I help? What can I do for you? I oftentimes, if I go into the office, I will numb for them. I will, adjust a crown, get it ready for them to seat it. I'll take some low production stuff just so that their flow can be really good so that they can keep going. Now, do they depend on me to do that? No. But when I go in, am I willing to do that? Heck yeah. Because leaders eat last. And if they're happy, I'm happy. And it's just a continual cycle of just us feeding our goodness into this. And it's just going to feed right back to us. It's super awesome. And honestly, if somebody is going to go out and earn just, let's call it 20% more money. 20% more money just to own a practice on their own. How much more are they going to take on in duties? And just their gut just hurting because of all their stresses and having to manage all the HR and not have time with their family and not being able to exercise properly. It's going to be way more effort on their part. And so that's why if they see, hey, should I own? Man, is it really worth all the additional stress that I'm having than right now? I don't see why anybody would want to leave it.
Yeah, I think you have to have that certain mentality. If you have more of that like entrepreneurial personality, right, you're always going to be like, I need to own my own thing. Like I got to have my own thing. That's why you did it, right? Like you have your own practices. Alex, you always were going to have to be your own boss, right? Mm-hmm. Like I kind of like that too. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I think, and that's kind of what our one associate who does really well too, right? Like he consistently is doing, over, 100,000 plus every month, right? So he's making good money. And he at first, he's kind of gone back and forth on it, where he's like, I kind of want to own. I want to own. I'm going to open my own practice. And then he'd be like, he'd see the shit we had to deal with, and he'd be like, oh, I'd have to deal with that. Okay, well, I'm already making a lot of money right now. I can do whatever I want. I've got, he's got his life with his, like, girlfriend there. They don't have any kids. They can travel when they want. We give them a lot of freedom in their schedule. I never bug him.
Sure.
If he's like, I want to go, I'm going to be gone like Wednesday
You go
through
for it.
Sunday. Okay, cool. Just load your schedule up the other 2 days. Cool. Like we've never bugged him and said like, you can't go on this trip, right?
Because he's helping you to win. So you guys are constantly making a win-win situation. Now, I want to be clear of what I just said a couple minutes ago before you started talking about like the entrepreneurial spirit. Absolutely. You want to go own. But I don't want somebody to go own just because they think they're going to make a little bit more money, right?
Yeah.
If they're just like, should I go own so that I can make like $100,000 more? Okay, so like you really think that your life is going to be that much better by going from 650 to 750? Like, okay, look, I just don't see it being worth all the extra effort. That's what I'm saying. Now, if somebody wants to go and own their own space and just sit and kick their feet up and be like, this is mine, cool. I am not going to try to manipulate anybody out of that one. But your associate that you're talking about, I was just coaching a guy yesterday about this. So I have a client who he's super successful. He's in month 3 and he's already talking about doing over $200,000 a month. Why? Because he's already built and sold a group practice. He's already seen exactly what it takes to build and to grow and to thrive. Why on earth would he hire me? Is because he sees what I have with associates and he hasn't created that yet. And so he's just like, I can produce, I can grow, I can, grow EBITDA, but I really just need to learn how to let go and let my associates just run. So that's why I'm hiring him. But we talked about what you were just talking about. If you find the right people, you don't give them a bunch of strongholds to hold them in place and be like, this is how much time you're going to get off, and this is how you need to report to me. No, you just need to make sure that you're doing good dentistry, keeping good records, and treating people with respect. And I will make sure that you constantly are being fed. Like you.
Yeah, or asking
it just makes sense.
Yeah, or asking them what they want too, right? Like we've talked about this a few times on the podcast, and I think you probably even brought it up too. It's just, even if you bring an associate on, seeing what they actually individually want, right? Some guy might want, or some gal might want 6 weeks of vacation a year because they have a family reunion and they do this and they do that and they have all these things planned. Okay, well then support them in that way, right? Some people are like, I never leave. I want to work as much as I can and make as much money. Okay, so help support them that way, right? So I think sometimes we just put everything in like a box versus like getting to know someone and seeing what they want. So I mean, like, what have you looked for when you're looking to hire an associate? What are the traits? What are the things that you see? And like, can you tell right away if someone's going to work out or not? Like at this point?
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. First thing that they have to do is want to live where you're at. I mean, could you imagine trying to convince somebody to come to where you are, and even you're looking around and you're like, if I didn't have family here, I would not like it here, right? That is just that seems way too hard for me to just convince somebody to come to a little minority farmer town and it smells like manure, and you're just like, oh, you're gonna love the revenue, right? That's gonna be really hard. So trying to lure somebody from Michigan to Texas might be pretty darn tough. Now, if they are seasoned, then they might not have the humility of wanting to learn something new. Let's say somebody's seasoned and they're producing 70K a month. And you're probably not going to really teach them anything unless they show you that they have humility. So having that meekness and just being like, okay, Eric, okay, Alex, like you guys, you definitely have what I want. Teach me. That humility at the beginning is super important to see. And then there's a hunger, right? There's a hunger of just wanting to go out and do more. Now, does that person want more responsibility? Do they want to grow into partnership? If they do, then it's going to take more than just writing a check for you. Hey, associate, if you want a partner, this is going to take way more than just a check. If I want a check, I'll just go produce the dentistry myself, right? That's not going to add value to my life just for you to write me a check to own some portion of this business. You've got to show me that you can actually, contribute to the business and add value more than just bring in dentistry. So fortunately, I was able to be tutored under Alistair McDonald's for a really long time, and he's just hammered that into my head. So I'll give that credit to him. But yeah, if you're gonna locate somebody and they are gonna be way different than you, sometimes that could be like a cultural difference that people are going to really feel if they've been used to you as the doctor, and then now they have this other one that is gonna be totally different. Maybe the accent, maybe the gender, maybe the like. You've just got to see like, can I create some sort of continuity? Now, yes, I have employed a female dentist, and she works great. She works as a temp for us, and so I'm not saying that I have to hire a same gender, but I mean, she has to understand how we deal with patients in the way that we do it in our office.
They have to fit the culture of your office, right? Like regardless of, I think that's what you're saying is regardless of gender or any of that kind of stuff, like they have to fit your culture.
Right. You just have to be, yes, you have to be cautious of how they're going to bring continuity of what you've done as a doctor. So if you're a big burly dude and she's a little dainty female, and your personalities are way different, then there might be quite a whiplash going on for that patient there. So the hardest thing for an associate, okay, is coming in and acting like the new girl or the new guy. And so if you can create it to where your patients just don't really question it, and so they just come in and they say, hey, I'm Dr. Alex, I'm going to take care of you today. That's not that big of a deal. Like, Alex, you could come into my office tomorrow and just sub for me, and you don't have to explain everything about where Dr. Greer is, right?
Yeah.
You'll just take over and you'll just take care of the patient care, and you'll just be like, hey, I got you. I mean, in your practicing ways. I know that you're kind of out of the practicing ways right now, but you know what I mean.
It's like riding a bike.
Yeah, I'm a dentist.
Yeah. Right. And so other people will get really, really nervous. And so, Dr. Eric will come in and say like, hey, well, Dr. Greer, he sold the business, and so he's gone. And so, but let me tell you a little bit about myself, and right. Like, you don't have to do that. Like associates can just come in.
So true.
I just know how you are, Eric.
I know.
I know how you are.
No, I was saying, Dr. Greer sold this is how much this is how much you sold the business for. These are his 2 cars. This is bank account information, right? Like, that's what it would be.
And please like me.
Yeah, and then please like me. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I hope what I was saying before about like, difference in ethnicity or gender, that's not really a big focus of mine. Basically, it's just to hammer a point of just like, you got to find somebody who can buy into your vision, that your team is going to feel treated equally, as you would. And there's just nice continuity of care. And that's the main point that I was trying to drill home there. And I can definitely tell if somebody's going to match the culture or not. And a lot of times, these associates come in. Imagine that person who just graduated from hygiene school, and you're interviewing, let's call it her, and you're interviewing this new grad hygienist. And what's the most obnoxious thing about when you interview a new hygienist is that they're asking all the questions that their hygiene instructors ask them to do, right?
Yeah.
Make sure you ask about this. Make sure you ask about that. Make sure you ask about PTO and how much time you're going to be scheduled and what codes. It's just like
make sure if you're running accelerated, you're getting paid, twice as much during that time, and make sure, all that, and it's like, okay, I understand.
Do not agree to be 1099.
Yeah.
You must, it's just like, okay, great. Okay. Now, associates come in sometimes with that same vibe.
Yeah.
Right? They come on with the same, just like, well, and we're in a day now that you send them an employment contract, they'll just run it through ChatGPT and come up with all these questions.
I know.
So now we're dealing with this new, added level of just like, oh, okay, like what's really important to me? And when they come in and things are just really important to them, where you're just like, dude, you don't get it. You just don't get it.
Yeah. I think if
I don't
they
want to waste my time.
Like, and sometimes though, like, sometimes you just don't know any better, right? So like you want to think like, I remember like when we got I get contracts from like DSOs when I was associating, I'd be like, oh, I think I know more than everyone, right? Like you kind of come in with that a little bit when you're like just kind of like naive, but you want to like feel like you know what you're doing. So like I'm going to negotiate this and this and this and do that. So like it's hard to fault sometimes an associate for doing that because I just don't think they know any better. They just don't have the experience, right, of understanding
Right.
like how it really works. But with chat, like if you run things through like Chat GPT, we were talking with I think it was one of my buddies was I took there was some comment that I made and he's like, watch this. So he ran it through Chat GPT and it was like, explain to me why Eric's completely wrong. And then he said, explain to me why Eric's completely right, right? And it answered it both ways very well. And he's like, this is the problem with AI is it'll answer it based on how you prompt it, right? Like it'll give you what you want to hear. So like you could take a neutral statement and it'll, however you prompt it is how it's going to give you the answer. And so like that's the issue. I think if I had an associate doing that kind of stuff with like contract stuff, I'd be like, hey man, this is the contract. This is what it is. You're more than welcome to have an attorney review it. That's totally get that. But like, I can tell that you had AI look at this, right? Like, but yeah, and one of those two, it's, I don't know. There was another phrase that I had heard where, I don't know where it was at. And it was like, if you want to talk to someone who's like, if you're talking to someone and they're not really that successful or they haven't really done it right before, they might say, I need an NDA for this. I need you to like not say this, this, or this. And they get like really restrictive on stuff. People who are very successful, if I were to tell you like an idea I had, Spencer, and you were, you know, had $100 million, you'd probably be like, all right, cool, man. Like, that's fine. Like, I don't need any, like, we don't need to sign NDAs. We don't need to do that. If you want to do it, do it. I'm not going to steal your shit. We're good. Like, you're just much more casual about it, right? So sometimes when I see people and they're really rigid on stuff or they're really nervous about, like, someone's going to steal this or someone's going to take this, I just see it as more like not confident. That is a way off tangent. Sorry.
No, it's all good. I brought it up with the whole AI contract thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a new level of, just filtering that we have to do. But, I was reviewing some of those responses from potential associates for my client, and I just like, oh dude, like this is not fun. It's not fun. So we just have to realize what's really important to us. And if we find the right fit and if they're going to be really awesome here, basically we just need to find a contract that's going to make us a little uncomfortable and make them a little uncomfortable. And that's what makes a good contract, right? Shout out Alistair for teaching me that too.
Yeah.
And so,
that makes sense.
It's just,
so like, on that, it is one of those things where I think if I'm the owner, right, from that perspective, if I was doing associate contracts, I probably would not have any wiggle room and stuff at this point. I would have something that I've tried, it's been tested, it's fine, we know it's worked before, we have proof of concept that it's good, right, it's fair, and I'd say, like, this is what it is. And it's similar to, like, with patients, right? Like, you guys have probably ragged on me a ton about this, right? About, like, over-talking when I'm trying to go through, like, case acceptance. If I'm not confident in something on like why this needs a crown or why it needs a filling, I'm going to try to talk my way through it, right? And tell the patient, oh, well, it needs this, this is the reason why. Sometimes if you just say, like you've taught me, Spencer, is if you just say like your tooth needs a crown, this is why it needs a crown, this is the treatment for it, right? Patients are like, all right, this guy's confident. All right, we need to get it done. Same thing if you're dealing with the contract. If I was dealing with an associate, said, hey, this is the contract. I think you could do great here. This is how we can help support you. This is what other associates have done. This is how much money they made. Kind of take it or leave it, right? The associate, if I'm the associate, I'm like, okay, all right, this guy or gal or whatever is, confident in what they're doing. So I think that's almost a good play, is to just stick to your guns, say what it is, and do it in a professional way. Versus like, oh, I'm going to work this side deal with you, and I'm going to do this side deal with you. It's like so confusing. I don't know. That's my thought.
yeah.
We all know Eric wants more friends. If you're enjoying this episode, share the podcast and then tell them to DM Eric so he can hit his quota of one new friend per day. Now back to the episode.
Yeah. So I gave my associates 3-year contracts because I said, if I'm going to put this much into you, I want the company to reap some benefit from it for a bit rather than just like an 18 or 24-month contract. And they both could see the value of what I was going to bring them as a mentor. And so they were both like, yeah, makes sense. I gave them 1 mile non-competes because everybody knows that non-competes aren't really super enforceable. So why make a 5 or 10 mile one anyway? But I just think let's just have 1 mile so that you're not just setting up right next door. So like I still had stuff that just made sense, right?
Yeah.
And it was still just kind of that we could just read it and look at each other and be like, makes sense for both sides, right? It's not me trying to take full advantage of them. Too many times an owner doctor will just try to make it a single-sided win. And like you were talking about that associate who's diagnosing a crown of 15 and then the owner takes it. Owners too often are looking at associates as just regular employees. And then when the associate has an issue or a complaint, the owner has to complain about it and just be like, oh, they're so entitled nowadays. Or, man, they just don't appreciate everything that we go through. Well, are you appreciating what your associate is going through? Of eating your scraps? Of, getting only a few patients? Like, that's gotta suck. How would you like to be in that one? So just having more empathy for how these associates are feeling. It's okay to feed your associates. If you're diagnosing stuff and you just go, hey, here's how I say it, guys. I say, hey, this is what you need. You need these 3 crowns and 2 implants. Now, whether I do it or Dr. Alex does it, you're going to be in really good hands and both of us are going to do a good job. So I'm not going to sure who they're going to schedule you with, but either way, we'll do a great job for you. That way, I am totally setting Alex up, so that they're not like, where's Dr. Greer? He was the one I talked to. Also, I want to make note that I took my name off of the door. I took my name off of the door so that people wouldn't be like, I want the person with the name on top. It just says the company name, our phone number, and our schedule. I'm not saying that that's how it needs to be, but anybody who's listening, all 14 of you, just think. Like, maybe that could be better for the perception of your patients towards your associate.
That is kind of smart. I don't know. I don't know why we're not that special, right? As dentists, I think we all think we're super special.
Alex is amazing.
Yeah,
you and I, we're okay.
Yeah,
appreciate
but
it.
like, we're not a. Most of your neighborhood dentists, right, aren't like household names, right? Like, we're not celebrity dentists. We're not on like TV doing stuff. I can see in the past when you just had like a shingle and the business name was like, Spencer Greer DDS PLLC, right? Like how you just like, have maybe your name on there. But now with people branding it as like, our names or like any of you, like just more like generic names that aren't like dentist focused, it should really just be like, why do you need the doctor's name on it?
On the door?
Yeah.
I thought there was like a regulation or something.
We just get in trouble did Spencer just get in trouble for taking
No,
that?
I think every state is different. It's like you have to list something.
Where'd you hear that?
Good point.
I think in like some kind of contract.
I should
thing.
AI search that.
Maybe.
I know. Let's ask ChatGPT. All right, he's doing that. No, but I don't.
Because why else would you put it?
Why
on
would
the
you?
door?
Because it shows like credibility. Like, oh, this is Doctor. I think like that's just a thing we've done.
I wonder.
I don't know if it makes sense. I think it's just a thing that's just like everyone else does it, right? So you're like, okay, well.
Okay, well, I need to fact check that. I wonder.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. But no, I mean, Alex, what
All
else
right,
did?
not required in my state. So
Okay, Washington,
You're good.
Yeah,
You're good.
we'll find.
not
out
getting
Colorado.
sued for that one.
Yeah. Edit that part out of the episode.
I don't think our names are on. Well, my name hasn't been on the door
mine's
forever.
Always been on it.
Yours still.
Yeah, and even the associates was on there too.
Well, yeah, you had them on there.
Yeah, I think anybody who's putting their last name on new offices are going to be shooting themselves in the foot in the future. So,
Yeah.
I think gone are the days of the lifestyle practice of a single doc, and so why would you want to work at Greer Family Dental? Like, it just, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not dissing on people who have that, but I'm just thinking like it just seems outdated,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, what did you see, Alex?
What?
With what? The thing we're talking about,
Oh,
associates.
what now?
Where are we?
No, I mean, I think, like, yeah, I mean, I obviously I agree with everything that Spencer said. I mean, I remember with patients, like setting the associate up, I tried to make myself very unavailable for patients. And I was like, do not book me. Like, tell patients I am booked months in advance. Like, you can't get me. You need to go onto the, associates
Yeah.
schedule. Like, that was the priority. Like, only patients that were like super, super were like, oh, I need to see me, then I would. But we did everything that we could to try to like make sure that the associate was busy and that they were the priority. Like, that is the dentist to see, not me.
Yeah. I think the strongest plug that I've put in today was the phrase that I say to patients when I diagnose something and then I build up my associate. That has worked so well. Of, hey, you know what? You might see me, you might see Dr. Eric, but whoever you see, I promise that you'll get the same really good care and we'll take really good care of you. That right there is so powerful for your associate so that they can go in with confidence and not feel like they've got to explain themselves or, really do anything out of the ordinary and just be at peace with with what they're about to do. So really just work on get your associate producing big. Is it okay if I do my plug right now, Eric, Alex?
Let's do it.
So I do teach owners and associates both how to produce more. My next course is starting really soon. It's on starting on July 17th, and it's my production dash, which is 6 credit hours, and people can come in and learn how to just automatically boost production. So I focus on production is us just doing more of the necessary treatment that patients want and need. Nothing else. I'm not trying to coerce them. I'm not trying to manipulate them. It's just you get more people to say yes to more stuff, then you get to produce more, you get to make more. And what could be a more win-win than that?
Yeah.
So that is that is on my website of next level or highleveldentists.com. And then we'll have a discount code for you guys. Again, we'll use both of your first names and we'll have a contest. See who uses Alex, see who uses Eric.
Nice.
But
Sounds
Well,
good.
yeah. Be
Yeah.
careful. Remember,
Discount code with
Spencer,
that.
you gotta be careful. We released a reel recently where on our last episode you talked about being persuading versus being manipulative, right?
He has a disclaimer. He already said it.
And he already
It's
got
fine.
he's already shaking his head if anyone's
Don't use
listening
that
to that. Like, that was good because for me, I'm like, this drives engagement, so this is kind of fun. But yeah, I mean, I get your point on it, and it's always fun in a reel, right? Because it just takes like a 20-second clip of like a longer piece, right?
Yeah.
But no, I get your point on that. Like, and I got the point you were trying to make, which is like persuading someone isn't a bad thing, right? You were saying manipulating someone is bad. So definitionally, you were saying it's not a bad thing you're always persuading someone, right? Like,
Well, yeah.
I mean, you're persuading your kid to go to school.
I persuade you to come on this
mean-
podcast.
You're persuading your fiance to marry you. You're persuading people to like to buy your thing or to come to your office. Like anytime somebody puts out marketing material, that's persuasion. You're just trying to say like, hey, instead of competition, could you come to me? Yeah, so I mean, if I could just say a little thing about that. Like when people are dissing another dentist on Facebook, when they're dissing them, what they are doing is they're trying to just overcome their perception of how little that other dentist is and just show like, oh, my way is the way. And that is just it is very unhealthy. It's super toxic, and I am so much happier now that I don't delve into Facebook groups anymore. It is crazy. It is crazy. And there's so many people who are there's a lot of bad words in my head, so I'll just hold that in. But like there are just so many people who are just thinking like they've got all the answers, but you know what? Like isn't this isn't this synergistic? Like, are we supposed to be here to learn and to feed? Like you've been watching, if you're watching the NHL finals or the NBA finals, like all of these professionals are continuing to be coached and continuing to try to improve. Like, why aren't we? Why aren't we trying to just kind of soak it in from other people around us? Anyway, that's my 2 cents. You brought it up. I blame you. Eric Appleseas, your
Yep.
fault. If people are rolling their eyes at what we just talked about for the 5 minutes, they can just blame Eric.
That's what I do. So
Yeah, I know. Well, that's the story of my life.
Good talk.
Well, enjoy the rest of your night.
Thanks, Spencer.
Thank you.